Okay, welcome back. This is Mr. Hassan's Maths channel. I'm now answering question number 11 from the October-November 2023 Pure Mathematics P1 paper. This is paper 1 variant 2 from the 9709 Cambridge syllabus. This question here, first of all, part A tells us about the coordinates of points A, B, and C are 6, 4, P7, and 14, 18 respectively. That means the coordinates of A are 6, 4. The coordinates of B are P and 7, and the coordinates of C are 14 and 18. Respective means in that order, where P is a constant. The line AB is perpendicular to the line BC. So the line from A to B is perpendicular to the line from B to C. Given that P is less than 10, find the value of P. So when we know that two lines are perpendicular, we can relate them together by the fact that their gradients are negative reciprocals of each other. So the key to answer this question is to first find the gradient of the line AB and also the gradient of the line BC. That's the key to answer this question. Now what we know is that the gradient of the gradient of the line joining 2 points is given by the change in the y coordinates, y2 minus y1, over the change in the x coordinates, x2 minus x1. Okay, mixing up that happens in this question is where they subtract the x coordinates and use that as the numerator. The x coordinates, they write that as the numerator, and they write the y coordinates as the denominator, which is wrong. It's the difference in y, which is the numerator, which goes on top, and it's the difference in x, which is the denominator, which goes underneath. So we got to find between A and B, we've got to subtract the y coordinates. So you can do it either way. I could do 7 minus 4 over P minus 6, or I can do 4 minus 7 over 6 minus P. It doesn't matter which way, as long as you're consistent. I'm going to do this way, 7 minus 4 over P minus 6. So the gradient of the line AB is going to be 7 minus 4, which is 3, over P minus 6, which can't be simplified. That's like algebraic expression. And the gradient of BC is going to be between these two. So the change in y, 18 minus 7 over 14 minus P. That gives you 11 over 14 minus P. So that's the gradient of BC. Now, two lines, when they are perpendicular, then their gradients are, you can think of their gradients as being negative reciprocals of each other. You can also think of the product of their gradients is equal to -1. So as AB is perpendicular to BC, then the gradient of AB is times the gradient of BC is equal to -1. Or we can say, which follows on from this, the gradient of AB is equal to -1 over the gradient of BC. So basically what it is the gradient of AB is a negative reciprocal of BC, or vice versa. So I think this is probably an easier way of sorting this out. So I can say 3 over P minus 6 must be equal to minus the opposite, which is 14 minus P over 11. So I've written this as a reciprocal, and I've changed the sign. Okay, so this is like -1 times this fraction. So it's like -1 over 1 times this. So you end up with P minus 14 over 11. So you end up here with 3 over P minus 6 is equal to P minus 14 over 11. Okay, you multiply that -1 with the 14 and the P. Minus P gives you plus P and minus 14. Okay, so now we have to solve this equation. Now we can solve this equation by cross multiplying, or you can say multiplying both sides by 11 and by P minus 6. You're left with 3 times 11 equals P minus 14 times P minus 6. So you end up here with P minus 14 times P minus 6 equals 33. Now, a mistake that many students make, which is a hangover from not understanding the reasons why we do things, okay, just learning without understanding, is that they would say here either P minus 14 equals 33 or P minus 6 equals 33, which is completely wrong. Okay, when we solve a quadratic equation by factorizing, we use what's called the zero product property, which is when you have two things multiplied to give you 0, one of them has to be 0 or the other. One of them must be 0, either the A or the B. If their product is anything else but 0, they could be any numbers. If you choose A, then B could be some random number. Like, for example, if I have two numbers multiplied to give you, for example, 1 even, I could say A is 2/3, then B must be 3/2. So A is 100 over 97, then B must be 97 over 100. Just, the same for every other number. You'll be able to find, multiple different solutions. But when two numbers multiply to give you 0, then there's no choice except one of them or the other one must be 0. So that's why we cannot solve this equation by just multiply, but just by saying P minus 14 equals 33 or P minus 6 equals 33. No, what we have to do is we have to expand, we have to make it say equals 0, then we have to factorize, and then we can use the zero product property. So we have to expand this first. We're going to have P squared minus 6P minus 14P plus 6 times 14, that's 60, plus 24, that's 84, equals 33. So you end up with P squared minus 20P. 84 minus 33 is going to be 51. It's positive 51. You subtract 33 from both sides. Now we try to factorize this expression. Okay, I know they both have to be minus because the product of these two numbers must be positive and the sum must be negative. So we think of all the ways of getting 51. We don't need to split the middle term here because it's, P squared, just 1P squared. So 51 times 1 doesn't work. It doesn't multiply by 2. Does 3 go into 51? Yes, it does. 3 goes into 5. 1 time, remainder 2. 17 times 3. That's the one we're looking for. P minus 17 and P minus 3. So that means now we can say either P minus 17 is 0, or we can say P minus 3 equals 0. So we have two answers here, P equals 17 and P equals 3. Now, what we should have done in the beginning of the question is we should have read it carefully. All right? It says, given that P is less than 10. Given that P is less than 10, find the value of P. Now, sometimes you jump into the question, you answer it, all you really see is, find the value of P, and you found P and you got two values, and you leave both values. Okay? One thing, it says the value doesn't say values, and second, it says P is less than 10. So what we can say is as P is less than 10, therefore we say P equals 3, and we reject this answer. You have to show it very clearly that you've chosen P equals 3 and that you have not chosen P equals 17. You must show that very clearly to get the full marks for this question. Okay, so there's the answer. And the other thing also, don't just write from here, from this step, and write P equals 17, P equals 3. You have to show that you factorize or use the formula or complete the square even, but you must show, okay, you can't go straight from there to there. Okay, you have to show the steps of factorizing, as I said, or using the formula. Otherwise, you will definitely lose a mark for that. And it states that very clearly on the examiner's report. So that's something you have to take great care of. So there's the answer now to question number, 11 or 10, part A. 11, part A. Now for part B, it says a circle passes through the points A, B, and C. Find the equation of the circle. So here we have A, B, and C. We know that the circle passes through these points. We also know from the last question that the AB is perpendicular to BC. And that's a key to answering this question. Because what it means is something very important, which we should know from our IG days. Okay, IGCSE or GCSE knowledge. That when you have a circle and you have an angle that is formed on the circumference of the circle, okay, and the angle is a right angle, that means it's formed by the diameter. So I know that AB must be the diameter. So let me try and be a bit realistic in my sketch. If AB is a diameter 3, 7, and 6, 4, so B would be on this side, and A would be on that side, B 7 and 6, 4. So let's see. AC would be the diameter, sorry. AB and BC, AC would be the diameter. So 6, 14 and 4, 18. So it's going to be something like this. Okay, that would be A. I'm just doing a kind of a rough sketch. If that's 6, 4, that would be C, which is 14, 18. Because AC is the diameter because the angle ABC is 90 degrees. So that means B is 3, 7. So it's going to be 3, 7, 14, 18, 6, 4, So it'll be somewhere on this side. Let me just make this a bit more this way. I'm just trying to be a little bit accurate so that it looks a bit realistic. You don't have to do this in the exam, but I'm just trying to be a bit more realistic. So let's say this is B over here. Okay, 3, 7. Okay, so the x coordinate is less than the y coordinate, and it's going to be something like this. So basically this angle here is a right angle. Okay, so we have a right angle over here. Okay, that's A, B, and C. Okay, that's the diameter. And there we have the 3 points I've marked here. I've tried to do it in like a sketch, but kind of a little bit accurate. Now, we want to find the equation of the circle. Now, to find the equation of the circle, we need two things. Okay, the first thing we need to know where the center of the circle is. And the second thing we need to know is we need to know the radius of the circle, because we have a formula x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared, where the center of the circle is whatever value of x that makes this bracket 0, which is going to be a, and whatever value of y that makes this bracket 0, which is going to be b, and the radius is going to be r, which is the square root of this number. So if we can express this in that form, the equation of the circle in that form, okay, if we can find the center and the radius of the circle, we can express it as in this form as the equation of the circle. So what we need to do is find the center. Now the center is, let's call this point M. Okay, the center is the midpoint of AB. The midpoint of AB is going to be, when you take the coordinates, now to find the midpoint of a line segment, you take the x coordinates and you add them together, divide by 2, and you do the same for the y coordinates. Take the y coordinates, you add them together, you divide by 2. It's like you're finding the average of the x and y coordinates. So the midpoint is halfway between AC. So you're going to add the x coordinates together, so you have 6 plus 14 divided by 2, and then the y coordinates, you're going to have 4 plus 18 divided by 2. So the midpoint is going to be, that's 20 over 2, which is 10, and that's 22 over 2, which is 11. So that's the midpoint. That's the point here, 10, 11. And the next thing we need to know to find the equation of the circle is we need to know the length of the radius. So we know that the radius is equal to, we could use the length formula between M and C, or A and M, or we could find the diameter and divide it by 2. Okay. Now, in case we've made a mistake with finding M, it might be safe for us to take the diameter, because we know those values are given to us. A and C is for the diameter, and we can divide it by 2. So if I take a half times the square root of, and remember the length formula is basically the distance between 2 points. Okay, in this case, A and C is going to be the difference between the x coordinates, squared, plus the difference between the y coordinates squared. So it's like Pythagoras' theorem, basically. So the difference between the x coordinates squared would be the length from here to there. The difference between y coordinates squared would be the length from there to there squared. So you're making a right angle triangle and applying Pythagoras. So we're going to have 14 minus 6 squared plus 18 minus 4 squared, and that will give us our radius. So you're going to have a half times, because this is the diameter, and a half of that will be the radius. So 14 minus 6 is 8, so 8 squared is 64. 18 minus 4 is 14, and 14 squared is going to be 196. So we have 196 plus 64. That gives us 260. So it's going to be a half times the square root of 260. Okay, so 260 square root, answer equals, divided by 2 is going to be root 65. So you end up with the square root of 65 is the radius. Okay, so that's the radius. So therefore, we can work out the equation of the circle by using, x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared. We know a is 10 and b is 11, and we know r is equal to root 65. So we have x minus 10 squared plus y minus 11 squared equals root 65 squared, which is 65. And there we have the answer to our question. Now, if you were to go on and to expand it and write it in expanded form, x squared plus something, x plus a number plus y squared plus something like that, there's no problem, but it's much more convenient. Just leave it like this. That's perfectly fine. You can leave your answer like this, unless it said write your answer in the form x squared plus ax plus y squared plus bx plus c or something like that. Okay, if they said write it in that form, then you would have to then write it in that form. But here they didn't specify, so leaving it like this is perfectly 100% fine. Okay, so there is part B answered. Now for part C, it says find the equation of the tangent to the circle at C, giving the answer in the form dx plus ey plus f equals 0, where d, e, and f are integers. Okay, so the tangent to the circle at C. So I'll use this diagram up here, and I'm going to draw a tangent at C. A tangent is a straight line which just brushes the circle at that point, and it shares the same gradient of the circle at that point. So it's going to be over here. And we know that the tangent and the normal are perpendicular. So this is the tangent here, and this is the normal. Now, I know that the gradient of the tangent is, I know that the tangent is perpendicular to the normal. So the gradient of the tangent times the gradient of the normal is equal to -1. Okay, and the normal to the curve the normal to this point C, okay, to the tangent here would be the line MC, okay, from M to C, or if we find the gradient of the line AC, that will be the gradient which is negative reciprocal to the gradient of the tangent. So the gradient between A and C, or M and C, whichever one you want to choose, is going to be the negative reciprocal of the gradient of our tangent. So again, as I know A and C, I know the exact the values from the question. I'll use A and C as my 2 points. So I know that the gradient of the tangent is equal to the negative reciprocal of the gradient of the normal, and the gradient of the normal is given by it's going to be 18 minus 4 over 14 minus 6. 18 minus 4 over 14 minus 6. So the gradient of the normal is going to be 18 minus 4, which is 14, over 14 minus 6, which is 8. So that's going to be divided by 2, 7 over 4. That's the gradient of the normal. Now the tangent is a negative reciprocal of that. So we can say that the gradient of the tangent, therefore, is going to be -4 over 7. Okay, and we know that they both pass through the point C. Okay, they're both the tangent, the tangent and the normal pass through C. So if I want to find the equation of the tangent, it's a straight line, I need 2 things. I need to have the gradient of the tangent, which I just worked out, and I need to know a point that it passes through, which I know it passes through the point C, which is 14, 18. So now I can work out using my formula, which I prefer, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So you have y minus the y value, which is 18, equals m, which is -4 over 7, times x minus the x value, which is 14. So now when you want to rearrange this, because we want to write it in this form here, where d, e, f are all integers, what I'll do here at this stage, I'll multiply everything by 7. That'll get rid of the fraction. So I've got 7y minus, that's 70 plus 56, which is, I think that's 126. Okay, 7 times 18, let's just make sure. 126, that's right. And then you're going to have equals. Now the 7's gone. When you multiply, you have -4 times x, which is -4x, and -4 times -14, which is positive 40 plus 16, positive 56. So now I can write everything on one side. It's always best to write the side, the x on the side where the x coefficient will be positive. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So I have 4x, this is already plus 7y, and I have -126, -156, that's -182 equals 0. Don't forget the equals 0. Okay, 126 plus 56. Yeah, but it's negative because subtracting. So this is the equation of our line in the form required. Now, a lot of students, they don't like to use this y1 minus y2 business, and they prefer to stick to what they learned in grade 7, 8, 9, whatever, which is using y equals mx plus c. I kind of gently push my students towards using this method, because when you get more complicated gradients later on, involving e's and pi's and whatnot, and square roots and this, it just generally makes your calculations a bit more simpler if you start off like this. especially when you have to express things in integer form. But I will just show you for those who are insisting on using this method, just in case you have an issue. So here we'll replace the y with 18, replace the m with minus 4 over 7, replace the x with 14. Okay, and you have plus c. So here the 7 and the 14 will cancel out, giving you 2. So you have 18 equals minus, that's going to be 8 plus c. So you have c equals 18 plus 8, which is 26. So you're left with y equals m, which is minus 4 over 7. And you're going to have plus 26. Minus 4 over 7x, sorry, plus 26. Y equals mx plus c. And then you would multiply by 7 to get rid of the fraction. So you have 7y equals minus 4x plus 26 times 7. That's 140 plus 42, which is 182. So now we want to write it in this form, as I said. It says dx plus ey plus f equals 0. Try to keep the x on the side, which is positive. So I'll add 4x to both sides. The 7y is already there. Take away 182 from both sides, and I get the same answer. Okay, in the end, you can't leave it like this. You have to put it in this form because it tells you in the question very clearly in this form. And d and e and f are integers. That's why you can't leave it like this. You can't say 4 over 7x plus y minus 26 equals 0 because they have to be integers. Okay, integers. So don't lose and throw away marks by not reading the question properly. Some people will say, find the equation of the tangent of the circle at C. And they won't read anything else. And they will give their answer in this form and they will lose some marks for nothing. Right? Just for being too lazy to read just a couple of seconds longer in the question. So please do not make that mistake. Okay, very, very important. So that concludes this question. Question number 11 from the October-November 2023 paper. Other questions from this particular paper can be found in the playlist over here. Other questions from the topic of, angles, circles and equations of circles. So I'll put coordinate geometry here, and I'll put coordinate geometry, equations of circles there. You can also have a look at my material from edXL on circles, equations of circles from the P2 of edXL, which I'll put over there. Thank you for watching and see you soon.